More to Marketing. Welcome to More to Marketing, the podcast that explores marketing and product and everything business. I'm your host, Susan Walsh, and today we're about to get ahead and learn more about lean marketing teams and also how you can get more done with AI. Now, I have a very special guest today, Dom O'Brien. Now, he's actually the CMO of Mate Internet and Mobile. I know them as Mate Mobile. I've been watching them for absolute years, and I'm so excited to have him on. He is also the author of the Startup Marketing Playbook. Now, we're going to be talking more about that in a second, but let's hear more about who Dom is. So Dom has led marketing at the intersection of big brands and also scrappy startups, from brands you know and love like Microsoft and Telstra, all the way through to startups actually fighting for market share. Now, he specializes in helping lean teams do more with less, which, let's face it, there is a lot of people out there that need this kind of help. And he's the forefront for applying AI to marketing workflows in agile teams. Known for his strategic insight and ability to deliver impactful business growth and client engagement, Dom brings a deep expertise in marketing strategy, customer acquisition, and brand development. I'm so excited to have him here today to share not only his leadership journey in this really fast-paced marketing landscape, but also to talk more about his book in particular, because it's got some real fresh perspectives and actionable strategies that we're able to utilize today, particularly in our digital world. So welcome, Dom.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you here, as you know, but I'd love to know more about your journey, how you got here today, and then we can talk a bit more about the book too.
Yeah, sure. So my career's been pretty diverse. Started out for essentially a startup business called Engine in voice over IP. I moved from the Hunter Valley to Sydney after studying at uni, and since then I've worked in agencies for about 12 years. And then worked in brand side as well. So I've had quite a diverse range, but funnily enough, stuck in that telco, tech, retail-ish area. And it's probably by not necessarily by design, a bit of luck and the right place at the right time, but also a bit of I do enjoy tech and gadgets and things like that as well. So yeah, it's been quite diverse from managing projects for big businesses and working in big businesses right through to startups and scale ups.
And it sounds like it's been the perfect blend for you because of all the tech stuff. Now you've got AI, so you now to utilize even more tools in the everyday marketing, where traditionally before we never really got to play in that space. So that must have been really exciting, evolving in that space as well and having the opportunity to do it too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's changed more in the last, well, could say week, but last sort of 2 years than it has throughout my whole career, really. MarTech has evolved, and in a small business environment or a scaling business environment, you have that trade-off between having all the cool tools and having the right people and having enough budget to still spend on marketing. So often you don't get the great whiz-bang tools that enterprise and big business get, but yeah, we get to sort of choose what works best for us, and it can evolve as the business grows as well, which is exciting, and it's sometimes challenging picking the right tools at the start that you can grow with and don't sort of grow out of. But sometimes you also have to start how a business starts and evolve how it needs to evolve as well.
And that's the great opportunity, isn't it? To be able to pick and choose and not have all the legacy there and be able to see what actually works for you and then pivot quite quickly as well, which is why I know you're so successful working with agile teams.
Yeah, I've worked with big companies that have, 7 different legacy systems for CRM, and, no one can really add to it. If you do, it takes 3.5 years to get that project done. So, to be able to sort of make your own way through and choose the right tools at the right time is important, I think, for lean teams, and something that AI in particular has started to really accelerate as there's lots and lots of tools, and that can be overwhelming at points. I've got a Notion doc with a list of the ones that I've checked out and played with and sort of keep on track of, but there's so many new things. It's picking the ones that look good, that maybe work for your situation and budgets, depending what they are. And then making sure they work for you. I know lots of teams in, especially like not so much in bigger business because there's a bit more structure and process and decision making at the top, but in smaller teams where you have a bit of autonomy between individuals, even the last thing you want is sort of everyone having 5 or 6 different tools and no one really using them all. Often it's a good process to go through a quarterly or half yearly audit of all the stuff you're paying for and work out who's using what and if they're using it well and can we use it better and can we all use it? Because I've seen, that really inflate quickly in the past in different roles where lots of people do get lots of tools because it sounds great and they do the trial and it just rolls over to paid and then next minute you've been paying for 2 years and no one's used it.
I have been through those myself, and I remember filling in those forms going yes and why, or no and yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.
But I'd love to know your thoughts because, as we said, you've got this book we're going to be talking about throughout. But for you, what does lean marketing mean, and why is it important for marketing teams of today?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. I mean, ultimately, it's working. We've always got to working within the resource that we've given, and I sort of alluded to it before. You've always got that trade off of, if you've got a total marketing budget or a total budget, if you're just a business as well, you've got a trade off between the money you spend on product, the money you go to market with to advertise, the people you have, and the expertise of people you have, and then the tools. So, for me, that just looking at lean marketing about having the right people. So, if you can only have 3 or 4 or 2 or 1, making sure that's the right person for that stage of business. I feel like it's no point having a CMO as the only marketer. That's probably the wrong person to hire. So too potentially is a really junior graduate at that point. You probably want someone who's got a bit of experience that can take that heavy lifting in a small business startup environment that maybe the founders aren't marketing experts. You need someone with a bit of experience. But then again, to work smarter in that team, you've got to leverage the tools and things that are out there today to maximize that output. Because if you are a small team, you've got to be very picky around the project you do and be aggressive in the things you say no to, because you can't do it all or you can't do it all well. But then I think today,
Yeah,
whenever we can do way more efficiently with smaller teams, and that's exciting for me.
I completely agree there. That efficiency piece, and if you've got the right AI tools that you've tested, it can actually bring about a whole new excitement in the team and gets rid of some of in some cases, depending on what the tools are, you can get rid of some of those basic admins and be able to do some more things that are strategy or a new exciting project you've just had on the back burner in your backlog for ages and haven't been able to touch yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with the real basic tasks. One of the things I've been trying to do recently, looking at the things we do is, okay, well, what are we doing? How do we do it? And documenting that potentially. And can we simplify it? Can we automate it? Do we still need it? I think that's important to ask yourself, no matter what stage of business you are, but especially in small businesses where you're trying to juggle lots of things. And I was listening to another podcast the other day, and someone referred to like a similar thing about, they called it Fix It Friday. So every Friday morning they spent 2 hours and they just like looked at one workflow, documented it, and they were just documenting it and passing it on. But I think it's a really good opportunity to go, okay, can we automate it? Can we get rid of it? Because often things, especially things like reporting and spreadsheets that you update, sometimes they're just done because they've always been done that way and no one ever challenges it, but then no one's ever using it. So it's been a good process, and simple things, simple automations can speed things up, can reduce some of that busy work. And, with AI now and agents, it takes it to the next level. One thing we're doing here at Mate, we do a monthly sort of competitor analysis. Two formats. One's like proper competitor analysis. The other one just looks at their web traffic and things like that, organic traffic. And we used to have people sit down and do that, and now it's very much around,
I was one of them once upon a
that.
time.
Yeah, and I've done that stuff in the past as well. And so now instead of having someone do that from start to go, we've got agents running that, does it, and then we have a bit of a cross-check process to make sure that it's correct and online. And that's, that was a boring job for a junior person in the time, and now that person can be, tick that box really quickly and move on to something that's a bit more exciting. Yeah.
I remember when I did a similar exercise. Mine was when I was at Optus about five, I think it was about 5 years ago. One of the teams in the area I happened to be in was starting to do exercises with bots. And they came out and said, does anyone have a menial task that's repetitive that a bot could do? So I did that exact example of what you just said, but I asked, can you do that with a bot?
Mm.
So I had bots out there scraping and then collating, and I got an Excel spreadsheet every day of what the market change, what was happening out in the market.
Yeah.
And it just saves so much time because yes, you cross-checked every so often, check it was right. But for the mistakes that a human might make from being bored versus a bot who never get bored and always just looks for the same things on those websites every time, it just made it so much more efficient and quick for me. And if I had, as you'd know, sometimes it happens in big businesses, you're given 1 hour's notice to do a quick pack on a competitor because something's changed or they want to do something, but they don't want to tell you what it is. I at least had that there that I could quickly just throw together what was needed instead of going, oh, sugar do dandies. I've really got to run out and do all this research myself.
100%. Yeah, I think we probably part of this, Fix It Friday is looking at more and more ways we can streamline things or automate
Mm.
it or remove some of the human work so we can focus on the more high value projects.
And I love that idea of the Fix It Friday because I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of companies put processes in but don't document. And then time passes. And then people move on and IP is lost. And it just, as you said before, things just stay the same. They don't challenge it, they don't change it because that's just been the process.
Yeah, especially
Whereas,
in small teams, if you lose one person, you might lose 25 or 50% of your organizational knowledge.
yeah.
And some people are much more documenting and process, and other people are just get it done. And it's so much easier sometimes just to do it and be done with it that time. But the extra hour or two you take to document something, and if it's a Loom video or actually document the process, or now there's lots of AI tools that will create a guide for you. One
Mm.
of them's called Guide. Uh, you know, it's easier than ever to create good processes and document them.
Exactly. There's no excuse for not even doing those basic ones where it just records you doing it.
Yeah,
I've loved. I can't remember the one I've seen being used in my old team, but it was absolutely fantastic, and then the output was brilliant. It even did heat maps for you of where people clicked on the pages. So simple to use, but so powerful as well.
that's perfect. Yeah, and again, like as long as it's up to date and being used, then it's worthwhile. As long
No,
as it's part of your process.
exactly. But how have you actually seen AI tools transform marketing flows? So you've talked a little bit about some of them, so reporting, etc. But what are some of the other low hanging fruit that really help teams and they can maybe start with?
I think I mentioned reporting being a pain before, and I think that's an easy win. Like in just synthesizing information. You obviously got to be careful with what tools you're using and what data you want to put out there, and make sure that's not breaking any of your privacy policy. But having you can have the spreadsheets for days with graphs and things like that, but AI can really dig in and find insights that would take a business analyst to really dive into and understand the data. And even if it doesn't really understand the data, it'll draw conclusions that may not always be correct, but it can flag things that you may not have seen at first glance. Um, I think speeding up workflows and for me personally, it's often not starting from a blank page. Um, okay, I'm going to write this report. Just give me a structure, give me a summary,
Yes.
or synthesize this whole 3 pages I've written and give me an exec summary. Or not feeling very creative, can you make this sound slightly better? I think we used to start from zero all the time, but now you don't need to.
Mm.
And if your creative juices aren't flowing, sometimes, give me 10 ideas for, or give me a couple of different headlines, or, it's probably never going to, at the moment, going to give you exactly what you're looking for, but it's giving you a starting point that saving hours a week really. And then I think, getting into a bit more, say, advanced, but, personalization at scale or hyper personalization, thrown around a bit, but giving people a more personalized experience with your brand. No matter how big or small you are, the more data you have on them, the more personal you can get. I often use the iconic, and I've not worked in that industry, but I think of them as like a brand that they know what I buy, they know my sizes, they know how frequently I buy, the brands I like, what I go and what I respond to, what offers they send, and I go and open the app and click through and add to my cart and what's in my wish list. Like the millions of bits of data points they have across their business. It's probably too many if you ask someone who worked there, but they can get, and they do a pretty good job, but they can get down to give me the color and the style and the price point and the offer every time, very close to what I would expect. So I guess, yeah, that's a good example for people in Australia. But yeah, I think hyper personalization is something that people will expect, and it's not just email and SMS moving forward. I think you'll want that on websites and even ads as we go through, depending on how that ad system evolves as well.
I think that's the key point there that you're saying is the expectation. The audience is now expecting for that data exchange that they're going to get value for it in whatever shape and form that is. In the iconic example, it's that they know your preferences of clothing and they know your wish list, so therefore they can combine that and do a powerful offer. Whereas in the future, it will be the time and place where you are, depending on what new media options there are when you're walking about to make purchases, etc. It needs to follow through to that omni-channel approach because of that expectation.
Yeah, and look, I think, people are obviously a bit worried about data and privacy sometimes, but I think if you asked 99 people out of 100 and said, we're going to give you ads anyway, would you rather see ads that things you like and you expect to see and you want to see? And maybe I'm a bit hypersensitive because I work in the industry, but there's one brand that I do buy from regularly because I like their stuff, but their emails are not necessarily tailored at all. I get, women's products in it, and I've never bought a woman's product from that store, this online retailer. So yeah, I think it can go the other way as well. If you're getting 30 emails a day, you're going to start to zone out on the ones that aren't personalized, just even subconsciously, I think.
Yeah, one of the examples I love to give of not doing personalization very well, even though there is a structure behind the product, is Woolworths.
Yeah.
So I have children, they were babies once. And babies, how the formula works is you buy Formula One, then two, then three, then four, generally. Unless you jump it off early because they start eating solids, where my lazy critters didn't. They love formula. But it's quite an obvious trend, right? You go to one to two to three to four. I was buying Formula 3 and they were still sending me offers for Formula 1. It's like, guys, there's two things going on here. One, yes, I might have a huge purchase background from number one because I bought it in big volumes because I vomited a lot. So, yes, I've got more volume there. But my purchase behavior has shifted for that product range to the third one in the series. And it never picked it up. And that I found very interesting with a company with a huge amount of data, a huge amount of people behind it, and they've got great tech behind there too, that they're still working towards this as well. They haven't got it perfect yet either.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess there's, there's phases in your journey towards personalization. And sometimes you're restricted by the data, your resources internally to actually do that or to think about it, and then also the tools. And I don't think Woolworths are probably restricted by any of those, but yeah, potentially they think near enough's good enough at that point, and you're still going to buy Formula 3, aren't you?
Exactly. At that point I was, but again, it just shows that there are opportunities and other ways to look at things if you're looking at AI and automation and processes. It might not be the frequency of the product, it might be the life cycle of the product.
Yeah,
and how do you
sure.
get them to the next stage? Like a fashion's a great example. If you're going summer and it's about to go into winter, you won't continue to promote summer clothes. You start to promote winter clothes earlier so you know they've bought for the next season. So there's all these things that marketers can do and utilize, and the power of AI can help them and remind them if they're forgotten as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're just at the very tip, like edge of
Mm.
what's possible. And I was at a conference speaking on a panel the other day, and someone in the audience asked a question which we weren't prepared for, and she worked for an email agency actually, and she said, "Look, one of my clients thinks that they can use this AI tool to do what we've been doing for them for the last 3 years, and we're trying to sell them that it's not going to be as good." And I said to her, "Well, you can run a test, obviously, maybe do it behind closed doors so they don't see it and see if you are better. But who's to say that in 6, 12, 18 months' time that it won't be better?" So what's your business model and how are you evolving to either utilize those tools so you can do more, quicker, better, or change your business model completely?
Yes, it's a valid point because who knows what's going to be able to do in that short period of time. And for a lot of businesses, they're not going to be equipped because that is a very fast turnaround that technology is now allowing.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it's Sam Altman or someone in the AI space, like they keep using the phrase like this is the worst AI is ever going to be, and you can
Mm.
say that every day, and that's equally. I sent our CEO an email the other day. It was actually a WhatsApp message the other day because I listened to a podcast, and I sent him the podcast and said it's equally exciting, scary, and like crazy at the same time. And I think if you put your head in the sand, that's probably the worst thing you can do.
Mm.
And if you can get in and have a play around and progress your own knowledge each week, then that's probably the right thing to do at the moment. I know lots of businesses have had their, big programs and projects and sponsors of certain AI initiatives. But as an individual, I think if you can find an hour in your calendar each week and have a play, then yeah, everyone's going to progress their knowledge forward. And it's interesting to see to talk to other people and see what they're doing. I was at Woolworths the other day, speaking of Woolworths, and we normally do online shopping, so I was rarely in the store, and was with my wife, and she was getting some hair color, and she was like had these two packets. She's like, "Oh, this one says semi-permanent, but this one doesn't." I was like, "Oh, I don't know." It's like worst person to ask, really. And she pulled out her phone and opened ChatGPT and took a photo and said, "This is permanent or semi-permanent." And I told her, and I'm like, I haven't personally used that use case, but seeing how other people use it and talking about it, I think is really important as well.
I agree. And my husband would probably be shocked about that one too, but I probably would do that. I do that a lot with Google itself, taking
Yeah,
Google photo and asking Google to tell me about it. But it's definitely so many user cases that can be done in all different ways. And we've only just scratched the surface.
yeah, I think so.
Now, I would love to know how you're addressing a lot of those challenges faced by marketing teams for the digital landscape. So, you've spoken about you're listening to podcasts, you're trying out tools, you're trying to educate even your CEO to go, hey, listen, look at this stuff changing out here. But what are some of those other challenges that we should be looking out for as well?
Um, I think you know, marketing's a bit like the age old. 50% of it works, 50% doesn't. We just don't know which one's which. Um, but ultimately, I think there's some foundations that everyone, no matter how big or small business you are, you should be nailing. And that's, you know, it's the things that you can scale significantly from very basic to very advanced and from very small budgets to very big budgets. So, it's your email databases and how you talk to customers, and it's your ads and how you go to market and your brands. I think brand, I love brand, but I think it becomes this big thing. But ultimately, it's every experience that a customer has with you, with your company.
Mm.
Whether that's what the email looks like or what the ads look like to the product packaging to the, you know,
Call center.
yeah, 100%. The person who picks up the phone or sends you an email back. And I was at the Sydney Running Expo on Thursday for the Sydney Marathon, and there's a guy who I've been following, an Aussie brand called Runly, and he sells like hydration running jackets and belts and things like that. And he's a young guy, but out of Melbourne, and fighting against big competitors, big massive brands in the world of sport. And he sends this weekly, and I think he's up to like 100 and something now, but like a weekly founders email. And I said to her, I said, if you do nothing else, just keep doing that. Like, you're not selling anyone. Occasionally he puts, oh yeah, we've got 30% off at the bottom, but it's his updates of his week, and it's generally, something's crazy's happened, or his stock's got stuck in customs, or he's been to a certain running event and the tent got blown away, and like, he's just creating this community through what I'm sure was start of people were asking him, hey, what's happening with the business? He just thought, oh, one day sit down and write an email, and then you know, a year and a half, 2 years later, he's still doing it. And I don't know. Again, I'm super hyper, sensitive to that stuff because I'm in that industry. But I think it's a really easy win that he's doing, and it costs him nothing. It
Mm.
probably makes him a lot of money, really. But yeah, other basis, I guess, making sure that you have some data and you use that to make decisions. I wouldn't trust data always. I think you've got to go with your gut a little bit, and that comes with experience and time. Um, and also, don't do what everyone else is doing. I think you've got to stand out today. And I do worry about, again, that panel I was on the other day, someone asked a question about, creative with AI. And, Zuckerberg's come out and said that he sort of wants you just to give your logo and your product images and a couple of bits of guidance, and they'll make all your ads for you. And I don't think that that's going to, what's ideally everything's going to look the same then for him. And how do you stand out? You have to be really different. And so I think we see so many messages and so many things do look the same because the algorithms force marketers to go that way. But I think now being different is going to be something that we've got to push away from AI as well.
And the other thing that AI can't do is that authenticity piece, where it really has come from that brand and that really truly is that brand talking. I have not seen any AI do a pure version of authenticity yet for any kind of marketing collateral. Not saying it won't happen, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, I think you can obviously train it close, but creating new content um, is one of the things that I think it lacks. Right, it's trained on everything that's ever happened in the past, and even the way it writes, it's choosing the next best word every time. So, can it have new thought? Can it have new creative thoughts? Maybe not today, but maybe one day.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to shift gears for a second here. Now, tell us about your book, its name, and why you started to write this book in the first place.
Sure. So it's called the Startup Marketing Playbook, and I use that title very specifically because I did want it to be a functional, usable, document. It started off as an Apple Note, and grew and grew, and then it started off me going, oh, starting that list and thinking if I had this information when I started, it might not have been perfect, but it would have been a big leg up. And it would have given me a bit of structure and focus around all those different skill sets in marketing. And in big business, and even in agencies, I guess you often have we'll call it luxury of working on a really specific niche area. And you're only exposed to that and maybe exposed to your team, what they do. But, in smaller businesses and startups and scale-ups in particular, you're wearing lots of different hats. So and you might be a specialist at something, you might be not quite a generalist. So to have a little bit more information about each area and whether that's everything from stakeholder management through ads, search, content, SEO, PR, and crisis comms, and later on the book sort of broke up into three sections, like the basics, foundations, starting a new role, that type of thing, then into those core marketing elements, and then the last part is really around scaling, structure, processes, hiring teams, whether they outsource or hire internally, and growing a business. And I've tried to. It's quite generic in the chapters, but I've tried to tailor it through different scale stages. So it's definitely more on that earlier stage marketer in the earlier stage business, But then I've got some suggestions for as that business grows. If the team goes from 2 to 5 or 5 to 20, how those strategies sort of evolve. And each chapter has a framework. It sort of works on a 4 week process, a 4 week sort of sprint, which I very much call out at the start of the book. I know that it's not practical for 4 weeks for everyone, and in all businesses, and maybe you're running 3 or 4 of them at the same time. Probably shouldn't be, just focus on one. But it also gives you a bit of a like, okay, what can we do in this 4 weeks? Maybe it'll take 6 for some, maybe it takes 2 for others, maybe it's already there and you're only just updating it, so it's only going to be 2 weeks. But it gives you a real defined, okay, I'm going to work on this for this long. We're going to get some results. We're going to progress it. And maybe it's not perfect, but it's way better than it was 4 weeks ago. So yeah, hopefully some marketers and no doubt some founders of small businesses can jump in, have a read. It's probably not a book you read from start to finish. It's somewhere you sort of pick the chapters that are most beneficial to you at the time and then come back to it and leave it on your desk, hopefully open with post-it notes and scribbles and that sort of thing. And then through my website, you can get the sort of templates and worksheets and things like that that support each chapter as well.
I love this because it's practical and so many people can utilize it. So there's so many small businesses and entrepreneurs and startups that come from different skill sets, and they might not have that marketing mindset because they're sales focused or they're tech or they're some other focus area. This then gives them that starting point of, where do I start? What do I need to focus on? What do I need to actually invest some time and effort into, or to get an expert in here to do it? And it helps them set up the foundations for success for the marketing of their new business. So I think this is a really fantastic tool that you've only just released. I can't wait to see how it gets picked up by all the entrepreneurs, the startup groups, and everyone else, because I think it's really going to help so many people. And like you said, all those different stages. So that is always there as that quick resource with all those supportive materials as well.
Thank you. And look, it's not, most other books and resources are written for big businesses, which definitely doesn't work in a small business environment, startup environment. And I've been in that position before. I've had an email marketer leave and have a 3-4 month, 6 month gap, and have to dive in there myself and figure it out and listen to podcasts and learn and test. And so what you sort of build, what I've built in the trenches, plus some research has evolved into the book. And I still think, hopefully that helps people move forward. I don't think there's any better way than to do it yourself and figure it out. But if you don't have to start from scratch, then that's a big leg up.
100% agree. One of the things that I've always done throughout my whole career is I always get in because I love to get my elbows dirty. And that's just so that I can understand and appreciate, but also support. Because if you don't know, then you don't know what your team's support is that they might need. Or just say, for example, with AI, you don't know, if you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what tools they might need if you come across it. So by having at least a functional understanding about what other team members are doing, it helps you be able to help them more on your discovery through AI as well.
And vice versa. I think if you know the tools and they aren't telling you what they're doing, then you might not, or the roadblocks that they have, then you might be able to have the solution for them. Or you might see 3 or 4 people have a similar thing, and there's this one tool that could fix all of it. Because I think that's probably going to be the biggest challenge in the next couple of years, is choosing the right set of tools that everyone can use, that work with other tools. And I guess, depending on the size of business and what tools you're using, there's some of the tools you're using today are getting, their AI upgrades, and whether it's true AI or whether that's a bit of a buzzword, but, we use Asana at Mate for project management, and, some of the AI features that they have around sort of workflow management and, pushing projects and tasks from A to B, based on a bunch of different rules and, triggering things. It's sort of just, it takes a bit of that admin away that's, draining, I guess, on people, so you can focus on the important work.
The actual doing.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm so glad you've got this book. We will have the details in the show notes so that everyone can grab their own copy as well.
Awesome.
And I'd love to know your thoughts about what are so AI, not everyone wants to jump on board. Not everyone likes change. And marketing in particular, we've always had to up our skills. Like I still remember bromides before JPEGs came along for images. So I saw that shift. But what can you recommend for people that need to help others have that really the mindset shift to want to take on these new digital skills, to want to actually develop and stay competitive? What's your thoughts and advice there?
Well, to be negative to start with, I think, there's a lot of talk around AI replacing people's jobs, and maybe it will eventually. I don't know, but I think at the moment, like AI is not going to replace marketers, but marketers use AI might. Um, so people who don't get on board are going to be behind the eight ball. And I've got two young kids, and they're only 4 and 6, so they've got plenty of time. But I'm like, what are they going to do for their jobs?
Mm,
Are they going to be tradies? Because a lot of this knowledge work is just going to be done for them now. So yeah, I think getting on board and getting involved. But I think from a mindset shift perspective, being open and comfortable with experimentation, adapting the way you do things today, because you might do it and it works for you, but there might be a better, simpler, easier way. And even within tools and as that quickly progresses. So I mentioned about the organic traffic that we were doing a running report on before. I started using Menace AI a couple of months ago, probably about 5 months ago, just after it launched. And the first month it did a pretty good job. Didn't bring it into the spreadsheet like I wanted to, but it found the data and gave me a CSV. It crashed a few times. And then when ChatGPT brought out their agents in sort of July-ish, I just tried it through there and nailed it like first go. I'm like, okay, so already that process has evolved. I don't have this other tool now because I'm already paying for ChatGPT, so I don't have
yep.
a second tool to pay for just to do that one task. So I think keeping an open mind around your tool set and how that evolves and ideally consolidates. We don't want to be using too many different platforms and learning them and upkeeping them. And then I think some of it's about, well, a bit along those lines, but for everything is around, you might not have everything perfectly polished always. It's sort of evolving, adapting. We're doing a website project at the moment, and I've sort of said to the dev guys, I'm like, this is what we want, but also I want to be able to, from day one, change it, test it, and A/B testing and stuff like, because it's never a static state. Don't expect that you're going to walk away the day you hand it over because it's ready, unless you give me the tools to do it myself. So, you know, having that ability to learn and adapt, and as a lean business, I think you can really do that, be really agile and do that really fast and iterate and change.
Mm,
I guess not too fast that you don't get the learnings from it. But I think smaller businesses or more agile businesses that are thinking that way are going to perform better over the short term,
mm.
as they integrate those AI, machine learning, better tools, and the whole ecosystem. I don't think it's. I don't think you just say, "Oh yeah, we use these 5 tools." They've got to work together and not add extra work just for the sake of it.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's not just for the sake of it. It's got an outcome and it's got a purpose for it.
Yeah, and it could be, simple things like when we use a digital asset management platform, and they have some AI tagging, an AI tagging feature, and we don't have crazy tagging system at the moment. It's quite light. We're a small team. As long as we roughly get the right product and offer and what it's about, promotion it's about, is enough, because those assets generally are done within 6 months. But I've used their AI tagging, and it starts to add color, and it'll give someone a name, and it'll pick their name, and it'll, to in 12 months' time or 2 years, when someone goes, oh, what was that campaign where it was a purple background, but and you can put that purple as a color in, and it'll pull that.
Mm,
So maybe it also changes the way that you approach things, because you can do things now that are quicker, cheaper, easier. That maybe before was just like, oh, it's not worth doing that because we'll only use it 5% of the time.
Mm. It's interesting because that's thinking ahead about how it can be reused in the future. So that color one's a perfect example of in 12 months' time, how might I have to do a search? It's going to be, well, people might have gone, lots of changes have happened, lots of campaigns have happened. But just being able to search the color and the AI has naturally put that into the description will make a huge difference in that search parameter.
Yeah, and I was at Mate for 4 years, and I had a 2 year break at another startup, Espresso Displays, and I've been back pretty much all of this year. And those 2 years away were enough for me to forget a lot of things, but also to forget the details. So I often go to some people here that are still here, and like, you remember that campaign we did, but and they just like, oh yeah, but yeah, it's if I could put purple in because I knew it was purple, then it'd be there, right?
Exactly, exactly. Now, I know you've worked in some large enterprises, fast moving startups, a few things in between as well. What lessons have you taken from all those different companies and types of businesses, particularly around like that speed, the scrappiness, and just working with real constraints?
Yeah, look, I think big businesses teach you a lot of things still. Like there's a lot of structure and process and stakeholder management. I think is really important in big business. It's even more important in small business, but in big business where there's a real structure, that's important to manage that well, especially if you want to grow your career in those big businesses. And you probably go a bit deeper in big businesses on legal and compliance and governance and all that stuff. So it's a good foundation. But I guess, and I probably didn't see it at the time, so it's probably easy to get wrapped up in it. But having left that space for a while, the bureaucracy and the inefficiency and the snail's pace of it sometimes. We're working with a big organization at the moment as a partner, and uh, they're just so much slower than we are. On a call the other day, and there was nine of them, and one person spoke, and there was just me on our end, and that I just shake my head and like, that's a lot of resources wasted for that. And they're the types of businesses and people in those businesses are probably reluctant to do too much AI because they're probably not that busy. And if they can automate 40% of their role, then they probably don't need that person anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
or that's out of two people, that's one gone and only one
100%.
stays.
Yeah, 100%. And, that scale up phase of business, which like startups one thing, but in scale up's another thing, I think. And
Mm.
I think at scale up, you're still often scrappy and you're wearing lots of hats. And, um, I think the important thing there is about setting yourself up for the future. If you see scale ups are growing really quickly and hiring people, just bodies often, like, and not that I've been in this situation, but I see some other businesses, I see how many people they're hiring and, they hire lots of people because they're just busy and they need to get stuff done and maybe don't get the right people at the right time. And like I said before, they're either too junior or too senior.
Mm.
And maybe they need a generalist and they hired a specialist or vice versa, or reluctant to outsource to agencies. I've had a few founders that I've crossed paths with. They're like, no, no, we need to hire internally, hire internally. And the push comes to shove, sort of agencies give you the expertise and the flexibility to scale at different points or to reduce. Um, so there's lots more things I think to think about in that scale up startup space. And the last thing I'm going to do, I guess, is hire too many people too quickly, as lots of tech businesses do, and then have to let people go.
Yeah.
So even I think you have to keep questioning yourself when you're getting people on board, bringing people on board, or even with the resources you've got. Is this person being used well? Are they the right person for that role? Is that role necessary, or do they need to do a few things? I went to a HubSpot conference a while ago, and Zach from Canva was there, and he's got 500 people in his marketing team. Like, what are they all doing? So no doubt
Yes.
you had a similar thing at Optus. Like, there's layers and layers and layers, and is everyone being efficient and effective at their role? Probably not. But yeah, I think just keep questioning what's the right thing for the business, and also don't underestimate hiring just people who are keen to work and want to learn things. I've got a young guy in our team. He's only 21, and he just wants to do everything, and he just give it to him and he'll figure it out. And if he's got questions, he'll ask. And I think that sort of person, it's great for their career because they get to taste a few different things. But also it's nice to have that like sub, almost like a bench player that you can just chuck in and they can do whatever.
I think the attitude is such an important thing with marketers, particularly if they're not going to specialize, because the attitude means that excitement. It means that they're going to be scrappy themselves and want to get in there with things that they don't know. They're going to try out all these tools and come back and share what's worked, what hasn't worked. And that passion, they're things that you can't always get. And that's why sometimes versus hire internally, get an agency in, it's about that right fit at that moment, as you said, of what the needs are, and then progress from there. What then is the output?
Yeah, and I think having I start to show my age, I'm not even that old, but like having different generations in your team as well
Mm.
gives you a different lens of your customer or the tools are out there, the trends, what's happening on social. It's that helps your business evolve even more.
Agree, completely agree there. Now, looking ahead, the future, crystal ball, they never work really, unless you if you break them, they work as they break. But hey, you can predict that one. But how do you see AI really reshaping the structure of the marketing team, particularly when a lot of businesses, particularly the lean ones with the startup phase, are trying to minimize those costs before they actually succeed?
I think leaner teams. I think you're still going to need someone to bring a team together and oversee it and have the strategy. You're still going to need a senior person that you know brings that all together and manages workflows and workloads and resources and stuff like that. But my personal opinion is you're probably going to see a little less need for as many specialists. Your paid marketing team might have a strategist, a media buyer, a planner, someone that builds the ads, someone that does reporting, an analyst type person. Those five roles might become one or two because part or all of that's automated or streamlined significantly. Or if you're an agency, maybe you still have those roles, but they've just 3x their output um, because they
Or
can.
they're just using there are multiple clients, not just the one
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, exactly. And then I think we'll probably end up with a bit more of, like I mentioned, a guy on my team, like a bit more of a hybrid. I can do a bit of everything. I've learned a bit of everything, and I feel like a bit that way myself. I've taught myself Photoshop and Premiere Pro and all those things just because at the time we needed a video, we needed something edited, or
Yeah.
we need a flyer, and yeah, okay, let's just do it. And so someone that's a bit more can jump into a bunch of things, can manage the tools. And then I guess you're seeing new roles that haven't been created yet or are just being created. I saw an article last week about a go-to-market engineer role. So someone in a marketing team that's essentially coming in and managing that AI integration, automation, workflow management stuff.
Mm.
So that's an interesting role because I guess that person it's funny because that role probably doesn't exist and that skill set doesn't exist potentially in one person, but they also need to have a really in-depth understanding of marketing and your business and process. And so that's almost like a unicorn person. And maybe that person is actually going to be a senior marketer that steps into takes a sidestep across into this, organizational role. So that's really exciting. From a team size thing, I think ultimately they shrink. But I had this discussion with someone the other day, and I knew the answer. And I just put it out there. I was having this sort of thought to myself, like, technology was meant to be this big thing of like, okay, it's going to make life easier, reduce our workloads, we're going to work less, have more personal time, and obviously we've never been more busy. But AI, okay, if AI can halve people's workloads, that means teams need half the amount of people. Businesses go, sweet, we're going to double our profits, and yeah, our shareholders will be happier. But is it is it the silver bullet to 4-day work weeks, 30-hour work weeks? Is it something that everyone decides, okay, people are less important to sit at their desk for 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week? Let's give them some life back. So maybe it's somewhere in between, hopefully. But I'd love to see people get, if they can do their work more efficiently because they can, that they should still be rewarded the same and get some time back.
It's definitely an interesting talking point, probably for another podcast in the future.
100%.
I think we could talk for a long time on that one with lots of different points. Now, I have loved our conversation today, but I have a question I ask everyone at the very end. You can cheat if you choose to do so. What brand, any brand in the world, best represents you and why?
I'm not sure how you cheat. It's such a good question. And I think, I have to look at brands that I like and use and think that they do good things in marketing because that's my lens that I take. And I can't pick one. I'll do two quickly.
You can do that.
One I guess is come to I guess an Aussie success story. I think Canva is a really important piece of the puzzle for small businesses and startups because it's now they've allowed people to with really basic skill sets to produce quality, whether it's pitch decks or presentations or packaging or social ads or event flyers. Those guys have really opened the door to lots of things, and I don't think haven't necessarily done graphic designers out of a role. They've just made everyone a bit better at design, and the fact that they've continued to evolve their product. And hundreds of millions of users. They've got 100 million education users for free. I think they're
Just a
using
few.
800,000 classrooms around the world. They've sort of embedded Canva into. So that's pretty impressive for an Aussie business.
They start off doing yearbooks.
Yeah, exactly. And now 500 people in their marketing team. And which is interesting because they, from a go-to-market perspective, they're not everywhere. So it's not like you go, oh yeah, they need 500 people making all those ads that they do. And then I guess the other one, I could probably sit here all day and just keep going through brands, but one of the other ones that I think's impressive in a startup and scale up environment is a company called Whoop. They do like a fitness wearable out of the US, and they're very much focused on human optimization is the word they use, and they've definitely evolved their product from a fairly basic fitness tracker right through now to like full ECG and heart rate monitoring and blood pressure monitoring even in their latest models. But they started off as a product built for athletes and then went, yeah, the general, everyone can be an athlete, I guess. So now we've opened this door to anyone that wants to improve their health and optimize their health. And they've sort of leveraged a lot of influencers and things like that to go to market. But one of the things that I think that I admire from them is from a startup or scale up perspective, now they're worth about $2 billion. So they're probably at least scale up, if not more. Is their CEO, Will Ahmed, he often talks about the restraint of their product. So it's purely like it's a band that has no screen, no time on it. They sort of evolved at the same time as Apple and Samsung smartwatches. Obviously Garmin's a big competitor of them that can do all the bells and whistles and track all these features and things like that on your wrist and, notifications and beeps. And they've been so restrained to just have this sort of mesh band that connects to an app on your phone. And I think the reason that sort of resonates with me is that lean marketing environment is very much about restraint. It's about what you say no to. And I've been in situations before where no is not the right answer. People want you to do everything, and ultimately, we can't. Either we can do some things half-assed, or we can do some things well. And if you want to do some things well, you've got to say no to things. And that business now is they've got millions of days of log data from all these athletes all around the world of all different ages and sizes and styles and race. And now they've got this whole data system and research arm of the business because they've got their own proprietary data that they can overlay and cut up all these different ways. So yeah, I think it's an interesting business story, and you know, someone who's grown through restraint.
I love that. And thank you for sharing all that too. I think both those brands make complete sense for you. And thank you for taking us on the journey to share how they do as well.
Nice.
Now, I'm just going to do a quick wrap up and then you can add any final thoughts that I may have missed.
Awesome.
So, today we're talking about how you can really still have a productive marketing team, even if it's super lean. And how you can do that is by having smart business practices, but also utilizing the power of AI. Now, AI isn't the silver bullet, but it is something that can help make boring tasks, tasks that you do all the time, repetitive tasks, in, out, reporting, all those things. You can synthesize a lot of that down and automate it. And that's where the magic really happens there, because AI is able to help you where you don't realize you may need help. Now, the first step is always to have a look at what your team or you are doing. Audit what you're actually using. What are you paying for today? What types of AI tools have you had on a trial that have happened to kick over to paid? And see if people are actually using them and why. Because you might find that 3 of them that the one person is utilizing can actually just be one, because one of the tools actually does it really good and the other 2 aren't needed. So that's how you can be a bit smarter when you're trying to be lean as well, or when you have to be lean. Because one, you're saving costs, but you're also utilizing those tools in a better way too, so they can become more specialized in those tools and use them for more things. Now, unfortunately, lean does mean that there are sometimes trade-offs. So you can't say yes to everything sometimes. There needs to be prioritization. There needs to be processes put in place, even those things called roadmaps. People, please use them. They are handy tools. And so are backlogs, because they help prioritize things. But lean marketers, unfortunately, are very familiar with this. But if you're not, check out the book. The book is called The Startup Marketing Playbook. It will help you through all this. But you need to make sure you've got the right people at the right time for the stage of the business. And then they can utilize and maximize the right tools at the same time. So you can be a bit more picky and aggressive of what you can and can't use, and also what you can and can't do. Now, if you get to a point where there's so much going on, and you might even have a little bit of legacy going on, there's a fantastic thing that we heard about today, which is a great initiative. 1 hour every Friday, book it in your diary and call it Fix It Friday. Fix It Friday can be that special dedicated time where, if you haven't been documenting everything as well as you should be, you can dedicate a bit of that time to start getting those documentations in place. And it could be, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Have we got documentation? Then, can we simplify it? Do we actually need it? Can we get rid of it? Or can we automate it or continue it as is? Those little sessions can actually help build more productivity, particularly in a lean marketing team. Now, reporting is always fun, and data and privacy policy is always super important. So never forget those, everyone, no matter where you are in the world. But reporting is definitely something that AI can help a lot with. Not only can it help pull out the insights, it can even be trained for flags, those things that humans won't see quick enough. And that's where it becomes really handy, because it can speed up workflows, help create some structure. And it also can do things like amazing things like just spit out for you the executive summary, but always have a human check it though. Hallucinations are real, everyone. But the handy thing about AI is, unlike before AI was readily available, you didn't have to start from zero. You actually could go in and ask it to help you start, I don't know, what's the structure of this document? How could that be started off by? Give me 5 examples. Then it actually is a starting point for you to think and get your creativity going, particularly on those days where we know we do get, where you might just be not feeling it. It can help you really push along and get through that breakthrough that you need. AI has been fantastic at helping at personalization, because let's face it, consumers are expecting it these days. So it's been a great tool that's been added into CRMs and other systems as well. Now, if you're going to do one thing out of today, the thing is, try them out, test them out, have a play with them. AI tools are not going to bite you. They're in a computer. So give them a go. You don't know what gold mine you could get out of them. I've seen some fantastic ones where myself, I've written a chapter for a book and I've said, hey, can you now make this into a blog article using my words and only reference my chapter? Therefore, it's all from original source and it's not going out and making up crap and all sorts of things. There are so many handy ways. Or use this chapter and can you make modules for a training course? This is the training course I'm thinking about doing. Does it make sense? Give me some suggestions. It will help do all those things for you. It actually can be that little assistant for you in the background when everyone else is a bit too busy to jump in and help because they're too busy doing the things. It is AI and lean. They're going to be together forever. I don't think they're going to break up. I think it's one of those things where a lot of people now have to have a mindset shift and get behind it and experiment with it, be open with it, adapt, just like we have always had to adapt. When the internet happened, everyone adapted. When mobile happened, everyone had to adapt. We are in an adaptive industry. MarTech is here to stay and it'll just keep evolving as well. So we need to understand what's out there, learn and adopt, iterate where possible, and consolidate tools if we can to make life easier for everyone in the team and it doesn't cost too much. But when you are trying things out, sometimes it might take a little while for it to get right. So don't be too fast before shifting because you might lose the learnings. Do look at it and see what you can learn from it as well. And always share what knowledge you get, whether good or bad, with people around you, because that will help them in their journey as well. What do you want to add? What have I missed? Tell me more, Dom.
No, I think that's a great wrap up. It was great to chat. Appreciate you having me on. Shameless plug for the book, startupmarketingplaybook.com. And if you need a new internet or mobile provider, just search Mate, Aussie-based team here will help you out. And if you want to connect with me, LinkedIn, just Dom O'Brien. So yeah, I think that's probably all. But yeah, great to chat and look forward to future conversations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'll have all these details in the show notes. To everyone else, don't forget to add more to marketing to your playlist for more future fabulous guests. More to marketing.